Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something really fascinating.
Oh yeah, what's on the table?
We're diving into Lally MacBeth's book, The Lost Folk, and connecting it with the Electric Eden role-playing game.
Okay, interesting pairing, a deep academic book and an RPG.
Exactly. You might wonder, what's the link? But that's our mission today. We want to unpack their shared vision of tradition, what it is, how it lives.
And why it matters, I suppose.
Precisely. And to kick us off, I found this quote that I think just perfectly bridges them.
Go on.
Both of us were trying to say the same thing. Tradition is not a museum piece. It's an ongoing conversation between memory and possibility, and everyone gets to speak.
Everyone gets to speak. I like that. Memory and possibility.
Right. So we're going to explore what that really means for how we understand folk culture, and maybe how a game like Electric Eden lets you, join that conversation.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, let's start with that core idea. Tradition isn't some, dusty relic behind glass. It's alive. It changes.
Yeah, dynamic.
So Lally MacBeth, she started the Folk Archive back in 2020. What was she really trying to do there? What problem needed solving?
Well, what's really fascinating is her motivation. She wanted to challenge how we usually think about folk stuff.
How so?
By shining a light on the ephemeral pieces of everyday life, the small things.
Things we might walk past every day.
Exactly. Things often overlooked, maybe even in danger of disappearing. She mentions pub signs, the stitching on church kneelers, corn dollies.
Right, those small details.
Yeah, seeing the magic in the mundane, almost. And her motto for the archive sums it up perfectly. Folk from the past, folk from the present, and folk for the future.
Ah, so it's a continuum, not just history.
Precisely. It's seeing tradition as this ongoing, active process, not just a record of what happened way back when.
And that connects back to the everyone gets to speak idea, right? Because she pushes against that old view of folk being like us the collectors and them the participants.
She really does challenge that divide, this idea that some people collect and others just sort of do the tradition.
It creates an artificial distance.
Totally. And that's why the label expert can sometimes be, well, unhelpful in this context.
How's that?
Because the source points out both making folk things and collecting them, it really should be an exchange.
Like a conversation.
Yes, exactly. A coming together of community, a sharing of knowledge. It's about being inclusive.
Embracing everything.
The whole human experience, basically. From childhood to death, even the gritty or more frightening aspects, as she puts it.
So folk isn't always nice and tidy.
Not at all. It's messy, it's human, it's constantly evolving. And maybe for a game like Electric Eden, that means players aren't just learning lore, they're actually shaping it.
Becoming part of the tradition within the game. Interesting.
Right. Active creators, not just observers.
Okay, so if everyone gets to speak, the Lost Folk must highlight some voices we don't normally hear from, right? People who really lived this approach.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where the book gets really rich. It shows how diverse collecting can be.
Give us an example.
Okay, think about Mary Neal, a suffragette. She didn't just, write down notes about Morris dancing.
What did she do?
She actively reshaped it. She pushed for a modern version, one that was accessible to all classes.
But she wasn't just preserving, she was innovating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows tradition can be reformed, given new purpose. It's not static.
Any others?
Then there's Elsie Matley Moore. She carefully recorded stained glass, bits of architecture. But her art also promoted folk dance.
How did she manage that?
She made this screen print. It featured dances like Jamaica from the country dance book, so using one folk art to champion another.
Wow. So the lesson is preservation isn't passive, it takes action. Sometimes creativity.
Definitely. Advocacy and innovation, not just sticking things in a notebook.
That's a great point. Not just saving it, but keeping it relevant. What about the less tangible stuff, like stories, daily life, things that are harder to pin down? How do people capture those?
They used equally clever, often very personal methods. Take Dorothy Hartley.
Okay.
She didn't just list objects made in England. She documented how people lived, traveling folk, farming folk. She captured their lost worlds.
Like how to thatch a haystack, that kind of detail.
Exactly that kind of detail. Charcoal burning. She understood folk as how you live, not just what you have.
That's deep.
Who else?
George Ewart Evans. He had amazing foresight. He used cassette tapes, pretty new tech back then.
Wow, cassettes.
To record the actual voices of farm workers in East Anglia.
Not just their stories, but their voices.
Their accents, the way they spoke, the actual sound of a disappearing world. Imagine, like an Electric Eden, finding an old tape recording that unlocks some forgotten lore spoken in a dialect you've never heard.
That would be incredible.
And Enid Porter, a museum curator, she was big on oral histories early on, community outreach in the Fens. She knew living people's stories were as valuable as any object in a case.
It really brings it back to the people. Absolutely, and that personal connection is key. Like Nellie Sloggett, she wrote as Enos Tregarthen.
Cornish tales.
Yeah, Tales of Piskies. But she blended the real and the imaginary. For her, the craft of telling the story was paramount.
It really underscores the human side of keeping these things alive. And the book even mentions people protecting the land itself. How does that fit into folk?
It broadens the whole picture, doesn't it? Think of Ferguson's gang.
Tell me about them.
They were this determined group trying to save ancient places like Land's End from being built over.
Fighting urbanization?
Yeah, they had this oath, England is Stonehenge, not Whitehall. It perfectly captured their belief that the real spirit of Britain was in its rural heritage, its landscapes.
So folk isn't just objects or songs, it's place.
Deeply tied to place, where traditions grew up and still live. You could easily imagine players in Electric Eden finding ancient sites pulsing with old folk magic.
Or having to protect a sacred grove from developers, maybe.
Exactly, just like Ferguson's gang did, but maybe with monsters involved.
Huh. Okay, so we have the people preserving folk. What about the customs themselves? He said folk is always moving, changing. Do we still have these lost objects in plain sight around us?
Oh, for sure. Think about church kneelers again.
The hand-stitched ones.
Yeah. Communities make them. Their designs often record local clubs, societies. They're like these quiet, ongoing historical documents right there under your knees.
Waiting to be read.
Exactly. Or look at the Painswick clipping ceremony. It has this statue of Pan, this weird bow wow banner.
Sounds quirky.
It is. And it was actually revived after it died out for a while. And now, get this, there's a big trade in puppy dog pies.
Please tell me they aren't actual puppies.
Haha, no, thankfully. The source says it's beef. But it's a great example of how traditions can fade, be remembered, then come back changed, even with playful new elements.
I can just picture the village bake-off for the best puppy dog pie. But it's not always gentle change, is it? The book mentions some pretty rowdy customs.
Oh yeah. Folk customs on the move, they call them. Some were quite disruptive.
Like what?
Mock mayors. For one day, they'd rule the town, make decrees against bad beer, maybe even tell people to go beg from the rich.
Turning the world upside down for a day.
Pretty much. And then you have the Shrovetide football games, the Jehart handball, the Cornish Silver Bowl games. These were fast, furious, and at times terrifying.
Not like a modern football match, then.
Not even close. Whole communities involved, chaotic, physical. It shows folk could be social commentary, an outlet for, letting off steam, pure collective energy.
Maybe Electric Eden needs more mock mayors. Or a terrifying town-wide ball game.
Could be. A game with real stakes for the whole community.
That's a cool thought.
Yeah.
But while some changes are fun, traditions can also pick up baggage, right? Problematic stuff.
Absolutely. And that's a crucial point. The Padstow May Day Abios celebrations are an example.
What happened there?
Well, they were influenced over time by American black and white minstrel shows, which led to some really racist elements creeping in.
Oh, right. Like what?
Singing lines from songs like Old Uncle Ned, participants blacking their faces. It's a snark reminder that tradition isn't always innocent or pure.
So how do communities deal with that? How do you keep a tradition alive but confront the offensive parts?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's complex. But we do see efforts towards positive change, like Paracarnival, making carnivals accessible for wheelchair users. That's evolution towards inclusivity.
That's good to hear.
But then you also see the flip side, the challenges for displaced communities, like Polish groups in Penrose and Newton Abbot.
What's happening with them?
Their traditions, Polish dance, making sopka nativity scenes, painting pisanki eggs, they're at risk as the communities get scattered.
Ah, so tradition is fragile too. It needs community to survive.
Exactly. It's constantly battling for survival, for relevance, against all sorts of pressures.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. From evolving customs to people creating whole folk worlds like miniature places or amazing houses. The Lost Folk talks about these.
It does. These incredible examples of folk building. It really pushes that memory and possibility idea.
What kinds of things?
Well, first you have the model villages, like Beaconscot or the one at Corfe Castle.
Tiny towns.
Yeah, often handmade with incredible detail by maybe just one person or volunteers. They capture folk crafts like thatching, but in miniature, and they change your scale. Suddenly you're a giant.
And they preserve history, too.
Definitely. The Wimborne model town apparently recorded ways of making a living that were already disappearing, all in miniature. They're like little time capsules.
So more than just charming models, they're records.
Precisely. Then you get the really personal stuff. Shell houses, shell gardens.
People covering their houses in shells.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wool's shell house in Scotland. Samuel Puckey's in Polperro. Using shells, bits of broken pottery sometimes. Recycling human detritus, as the book says, into something beautiful and meaningful.
Wow. Turning rubbish into art. That's amazing folk expression.
It really is. Creating your own mythic space right there.
And I guess some of these creations are pretty temporary, capturing that fleeting memory and possibility thing.
Absolutely. Like Ernie Oxo Richardson's Fish Museum.
A fish museum.
Yeah, Wonders of the Deep. It was basically his fish cart displaying the fresh catch each day. A museum that changed completely every 24 hours.
That's brilliant. So ephemeral.
And David Davies' topiary garden, biblical scenes, animals, all carved from bushes. But after he died, it just grew wild again, became formless. Shows how these living collections depend on the creator.
So fragile.
But then you have more modern things, too, like the Cornish Metairies, those medieval-themed restaurants.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of those.
They impart a sense of history, even if it's maybe more folktale than strict historical fact. It's creating an atmosphere, an experience.
It's sort of commercial folk environment.
Kind of. And then individual houses transformed.
Right.
Ron Gitten's place in Birkenhead, Ron's place, filled with huge murals, statues, saved by the community after he died.
People really cared about it.
They did. Or Kadumbi Asalesh's house in London, covered inside with intricate fretwork he carved himself, apparently just with a Stanley knife.
Incredible dedication.
All these show people actively making folk environments. For themselves, for the community, maybe even for business. It's all feeding that ongoing conversation. You could totally see, like, a player settlement in Electric Eden evolving like that. Starting simple, ending up as this unique, player-built folk art monument.
That brings us back nicely. After all this, what's the big takeaway for you listening in?
Well, I think it shows just how big and messy and alive folk really is.
Not just fiddles and Morris dancers.
Not at all. It's about personal connection, community. It challenges neat definitions. It's happening right now, all around us. It could even be influencing the games you play and bringing it back to that core idea, the one linking the lost folk and Electric Eden.
Tradition is not a museum piece.
It's an ongoing conversation between memory and possibility, and everyone gets to speak.
Right.
The book really urges us to see folk everywhere.
From ancient stones to, like, knitted postbox toppers.
Exactly. From museum pieces to your neighbor's weird garden gnomes, it reminds us there's still a hierarchy, you know, about what gets saved and remembered.
And we should challenge that.
Yeah, it's kind of our job, collectively, to value the small things, the everyday things, ephemeral things, just like maybe Electric Eden lets you create and value your own traditions within its world.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. After hearing all this, what lost folk might be waiting in your own life, in your own community?
What traditions, what stories, what local quirks are right there, waiting to be noticed, documented, maybe even revived.
Perhaps they could even spark your next adventure, whether that's exploring your town or diving into a world like Electric Eden.
Yeah, go on, take a look around the place you live. You might just be surprised what folk practices you uncover.